Hello and welcome back to another week in new genre books. Glad to have you here. My name is Amelia and from Locus magazine I'm about to tell you the top new science fiction, fantasy, and horror books being published the week of November 1st, 2022. I've got links for timing below if you want to skip to your favorite category, be it fantasy, horror, or science fiction. Please take a moment right now to like and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already. We know we're likable, but we need the algorithm to think so too. Whole bunch of books being published this week. So many we can't put them all in this video. Please check out Locus Mag, new books post for November 1st for the longer list with links. Starting with science fiction books this week, we have 8 SF titles being published this week. From author Rebecca Rowanhorse and series editor John Joseph Adams, we saw The Best American Science Fiction and Fantasy 2022 out from Mariner in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is the 8th in the series. There's an introduction by Rowanhorse, who for her own writing has won Nebula, Hugo, Locus, Ignite Awards, and more. And there's a foreword by series editor John Joseph Adams who explains the process. He picks 80 stories for the volume's editor to read anonymously, and then they pick their choice for the top 20 stories in SF and fantasy for the year. These year's best anthologies are an excellent way to discover new authors. From Everina Maxwell, we saw Ocean's Echo out from Tor in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This SF space opera / queer romance novel is set in the same universe as Winter's Orbit. A charming rogue, caught using his mind-reading powers illegally, gets stuck in the military, bonded mentally with an architect who controls others' minds, and the two unexpectedly set off a coup. I mean, I don't know that a coup is something that should be expected, or if it is, it's probably off to a terrible start. Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition! From Jeff Vandermeer, the author of Annihilation, among many other titles, we saw Bliss out from Subterranean Press in hardcover. This short SF novel is a darkly humorous and occasionally strange and unreal tale of the Glass Drifters, a band on tour heading for a mysterious gig that might make or end their careers. This is a signed, limited edition of 750, printed in 2 colors throughout, and full of Vandermeer's usual surreal moments of weirdness. From Jack McDevitt, we saw Return to Glory, also out from Subterranean Press in hardcover. This is a collection of 32 stories, many of them rare. Includes an introduction by Tom Easton. This is a signed, limited edition of 1,000. From Eric Flint and Robert E. Waters, we saw 1637, The Transylvanian Decision, out from Baen in hardcover and ebook. This is an SF novel in Flint's Ring of Fire series. Uptimer Morris Roth and his Grand Army of the Sunrise push east through Europe in hope of preventing the Chmelniki pogrom of 1648. From Dave Bara, we saw Trinity's Children, out from Baen in trade paperback and ebook. This is a military SF novel, the second book in the Trinity's Children series. Jared Clement has returned to Trinity not as a mere ship captain, but as a 5 Sons Fleet admiral. With his promotion comes responsibility for the settlers who are leaving the dying planets of the Rim and resettling next to the natives of the planet Bellis. From Cho Nam-ju, we saw Saha out from Live Right in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a near-future dystopian / mystery novel. When a doctor is murdered in the wealthy corporate-run town, police automatically look for an outcast Saha suspect, but his sister is determined to clear him. Translated by Jamie Chang. Finally, in SF, from Joel Presby, we saw The Debare Snake Launcher, out from Baen in trade paperback and ebook. This is a near-future SF novel set in Africa about the race to build the first space elevator near Mount Kilimanjaro. Next up, horror. 5 horror titles this week. We hope you had a nice, spooky Halloween and that you only bought the kind of candy that you like. Candy keeps well in the freezer. That's my pro tip if you can't manage to give it away fast enough. From John Llewellyn Probert, we saw How Grim Was My Valley in trade paperback, out from Newcon Press UK. This is a folk horror novel, a portmanteau novel made up of fragments. Robert wakes up on the Welsh side of the Severn Bridge with no memory of who he is or how he got there. Determined to reclaim his identity, he embarks on an odyssey through the country of Wales. Introduction by Ramsey Campbell. From Erica T. Worth, we saw White Horse, out from Flatiron in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a ghost story about Carrie James, a bartending urban indigenous woman in Denver who gets a bracelet haunted by her long-missing mother's spirit. From Michael Pogah, we saw Slip, out from Macabre Inc. in trade paperback and ebook. This is a horror / mystery novel. A woman who sees brief glimpses of the future returns home after her abusive father's death and discovers women in town have been vanishing. From Jason Savio, we saw Artie's Bark, out from Wordfire Press and ebook. In this small-town horror novel, animals start to disappear, and a boy's efforts to help his dog reveal an old, evil town secret. From Margie Fuston, we saw Cruel Illusions, out from McElderry in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a young adult dark fantasy novel. Ava's search for revenge against the vampire who killed her mother leads to a secret society of magicians. So let's tackle fantasy. I've got 14 new fantasy titles I'm going to tell you about that are coming out this week. From the brilliant N.K. Jemisin, we saw The World We Make, out from Red Hook in a hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a contemporary fantasy novel set in New York City, the final book in the Great Cities duology. Though the avatars of New York City have temporarily managed to stop the woman in white from invading and destroying the entire universe in the process, the mysterious capital E enemy has more subtle powers at her disposal. Locus reviewer Gary K. Wolfe in the October issue said, while the widescreen narratives involving the multiverse or Manhattan's repeated efforts to convince the other awakened cities to convene a summit to organize against Roulet are persuasive in their own way, it's the scenes of diverse, everyday New Yorkers, scrappy, outspoken, and sometimes rude, that finally lend The World We Make the rich texture of a love letter to a complicated city and the resilient spirit of its residents. From longtime favorite Lois McMaster Bujold, we saw Penric's Labors, out from Bain in hardcover. This is a collection/omnibus of 3 novellas. Includes Masquerade in Lodi, The Orphans of Raspail, and The Physicians of Vilnock, all featuring Penric and Desdemona, set in the world of the 5 gods. From award-winning Nisi Shawl, we saw Our Fruiting Bodies, out from Aqueduct Press in trade paperback and ebook. This is a collection of 18 stories. Introduction by Linda D. Addison. From the prolific Charlie N. Holmesburg, we saw Keeper of Enchanted Rooms, out from 47 North in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel. Set in Rhode Island in 1846, writer Merritt Fernsby unexpectedly inherits a remote estate which turns out to be bespelled and prone to tantrums, and it won't let him leave. From Eden Robbins, we saw When Franny Stands Up, out from Sourcebooks Landmark in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel about a female stand-up comedian in the 1950s who finds literal magic in laughter, but it only works on women. From Brian D. Anderson, we saw The Sword's Elegy, out from Tor in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is a fantasy novel, the third in the Sorcerer's Song series, about a reluctant bard-turned-assassin. The doom of humankind has at last been realized. Belkar's prison is broken and his army is on the move. The nations of Lemuria, unaware of the greater danger, look to repel the aggression of Ralmarstad. From editors Julie C. Day and Ellen Meeropol, we saw Dreams for a Broken World, out from Essential Dreams in ebook. This is an anthology of 24 hopeful stories of healing and rebuilding, second in the Dreams Anthology series. Authors include Benjamin Parzabak, Charles Piger, Nisi Shawl, and Sabrina Vorvulias. From Susan Dennard, we saw The Luminaries, out from Tor Teen in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a young adult contemporary fantasy novel about a strange town protected from deadly woods by the Luminaries, an ancient society of guardians, and young Winnie's determination to prove herself in their deadly trials and join them. From Fatima R. Henson, we saw Love in the Age of Dragons, out from Spark Press in trade paperback and ebook. This is a fantasy novel. 2 years ago, a wormhole opened and ushered vicious dragons into the world. Since then, Ayana Grace, a 17-year-old black girl, has been scratching out a life in an abandoned subway system, part of an extensive underground community. From Tilda Coldholt, we saw Slaughtered Gods, out from Solaris UK in trade paperback, ebook, and audio. This is an epic fantasy novel of Vikings and Norse gods, the third in the Hanged God trilogy. Ragnarok has begun, and only a storyteller and shield maiden can prevent the annihilation of the 9 worlds. From Freya Marska, we saw A Restless Truth, out from Tor.com in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a queer fantasy novel set in an alternate Edwardian England, the second book in the Last Binding trilogy. From Nick Martell, we saw The Voyage of the Forgotten, out from Saga Press in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is an epic fantasy novel, the third in the Legacy of the Mercenary King series. Michael, the infamous king killer, and Serena, the Hollow Queen, race against the odds to have the future they've worked so hard to protect, or risk bringing about the end of the world. From Sherry Priest, we saw Flight Risk, out from Atria in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a humorous paranormal mystery novel, second in the Booking Agents series. Psychic travel agent Letta Foley's hunt for a missing woman turns out to be connected to a human leg found by Seattle PD detective Grady Merritt's dog. A human leg is probably pretty identifiable, although identifying body parts as human or not is maybe less easy than these novels would have you think. I read the book Working Stiff by Judy Melancik that gets into the details of how medical examiners think and how they identify bodies and work out what happened to them. I am not over it. From Rebecca Mix, we saw The Ones We Burn out from McElderry in hardcover, ebook, and audio. This is a young adult sapphic dark fantasy novel. The witch Ranka is named to be a treaty bride and ordered to kill the human prince she's to marry. That wraps up this week. Thanks for spending some time with us. At Locus, we want to tell you everything relevant that's happening in the science fiction, fantasy, horror publishing space. We appreciate your eyes and ears and your likes and subscribes. It matters to us if you like this video and subscribe to the channel. We are at Locus Mag or at Locus Magazine on most platforms. Go check us out at www.locusmag.com. You can see the even longer list of books there on our new books post for November 1st. You can subscribe to the print magazine. Locus is available in a digital edition. Patreon donations start as low as a couple of dollars per month, and every bit helps. If you like what we do and want to help us keep it going, please consider joining as a patron. We are a 501c3 nonprofit. Come back and see us again soon, and we'll be here next week with more new books.